Can you hear us, Brian?
We can't hear you.
You're a little low. I can't hear you very well, Brian.
Okay, here.
We're doing a roll call.
Can you hear me now?
He said he was here.
Okay.
Okay, Clute,
Here.
Harrington,
Here.
Robish,
Here.
Mayor Albert.
Here. Let's stand and recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Now's the time for a public forum. For the public, you can make comments. You could send them now live with the meeting broadcast on the city's YouTube channel. The link is listed on the city's website at www.huronsd.com/city/government. So we'll wait a little bit here. If you have some comments or questions you'd like to call in, go ahead. And we'll wait a few minutes to see if anybody wants to respond here. No comments yet? Okay, we'll go ahead with the meeting. If you do have something you'd like to say, go ahead and send it to us and we'll get it taken care of. We'll move on to approval of the agenda. 3.1, is there any changes to the agenda, additions or corrections, or a motion?
Motion to approve the agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor will say aye, opposed nay, and we'll need a roll call vote.
Smith. We lost him.
I think he's reconnecting.
Okay, Clute,
Aye.
Harrington,
Aye.
Robish,
Aye.
Mayor Albert.
Oh, aye. Want to get
Yep.
Commissioner Smith? I think he said aye.
He said aye.
Okay.
You're muted.
We'll move to item 4 on our agenda, consent agenda. Matters appearing on the consent agenda are expected to be non-controversial and will be acted upon by the commission at one time without discussion, unless a member of the commission requests an opportunity to address any given item. Items removed from the consent agenda will be discussed at the beginning of the formal items. Tonight's consent agenda starts with 4.1, minutes of April 13, 2020. 4.2, fuel quotes for city departments. 4.3, proclamation, Arbor Week, April 20 through the 24th, 2020. 4.4, personnel items. Hiring of part-time seasonal positions for the Broadland Pro Shop. 2, hiring part-time seasonal position for the Memorial Golf Course. 3, hiring a part-time seasonal positions for the golf maintenance. 4, regular full-time status for Amanda Roberts, 9/11 telecommunicator, for completing her probationary period. 5, update job description of the technology/assistant library director position and advertise the position. 6, hiring for the human resources manager position. And 4.5, payment of the bills. Do I have a motion on the consent agenda?
Move to approve the consent.
Smith.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. We'll need a roll call vote for this also, so all in favor will say aye, opposed nay, and we'll call the roll.
Smith.
Aye.
Clute.
Aye.
Harrington.
Aye.
Robish.
Aye.
Mayor Albert.
Aye. Motion carries. We'll move to item 6. Petitions and communications. 6.1, consider renewing the Huron Event Center Management Agreement and authorize the mayor to sign. Do I have a motion to renew the Huron Event Center Management Agreement?
Motion to renew the agreement.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor will say aye, opposed nay, and we'll call the roll.
Smith.
Aye.
Clute.
Aye.
Harrington.
Aye.
Robish.
Aye.
Mayor Albert.
Aye. We'll move to item 7, ordinances and resolutions. 7.1, first reading, ordinance number 2210-21-79. Water Department and regulations, tapping permit, and bond requirement. And consider setting the second reading for April 27th, 2020. And City Attorney Banks, would you do the first reading, please?
The title is an ordinance to amend sections 21.08.030 and 21.08.300 of chapter 21.08 of title 21 of ordinance in revision number 850, commonly known as the Municipal Code of the City of Huron, South Dakota, pertaining to water department and regulations.
Okay, and we have Superintendent Vince Jules with us this evening. Vince, do you want to tell us what the changes are we're looking at?
Thank you, Mayor. They are just asking that for a $5,000 bond to dig, rather than the $1,000 bond. We don't feel that $1,000 bond will cover any damages done. And they're asking that you are either a licensed plumber or you have your water and sewer installer's license to be able to dig. It's the same as we did with the sewer ordinance 2 months ago, but we didn't get the water in with it at that time.
Okay, is there any questions for Vince on the ordinance? Basically the same as we did for wastewater,
Yes, Mayor.
sewer.
Yep.
Okay, do I have a motion on the first reading of the ordinance change?
This is Doug Clute. I'll move approval of the ordinance.
Doug made a motion.
Okay,
I'll second that.
moved and seconded to approve the first reading. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the first reading will say aye, opposed nay, and we'll call the roll.
Smith.
Aye.
Clute.
Aye.
Harrington.
Aye.
Robish.
Aye.
Mayor Albert.
Aye. Motion is approved, first reading. We will set the second reading for April 27th. Moving to department items. 8.1, consider authorizing the solid waste superintendent to apply for a waste tire collection and disposal grant with the South Dakota Department of Environment and Natural Resources, and authorize the mayor to sign all related documents. And Commissioner Clute, that's your department. Do you have anything about that?
Well, it's the second time we would be applying for this grant. We had received it before, I believe a couple of years ago. It's a pretty good deal. We only have to put up 20% of the project costs, and then the state will put up the rest, and it's a good way to get rid of the tires in this town. So I would move that we authorize them to apply for that funding.
Okay, do I have a second on that motion?
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve applying for the grant. Any questions, comments? Yes, Commissioner Robish.
Thank you, Mayor. Doug, if you can hear us, when would that, if they're applying for it, do you have any idea when that would come through?
Mark, I really don't. I would suspect it would be, sometime early this summer, and hopefully
With the
we'll.
requirements of an April deadline, it's probably in June when it'll
June?
when it'll go to the board for approval.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Pauline.
Other comments, questions? Hearing none, all those in favor of allowing our superintendent to apply for this grant, tire collection grant, will say aye, opposed nay, and call the roll, please.
Smith,
Aye.
Clute,
Aye.
Harrington,
Aye.
Robish,
Aye.
Mayor Albert.
Aye. We'll move to item 8.2. Consider authorizing the police department to apply for a South Dakota Highway Safety Grant for seatbelt and speed enforcement, and authorize the police chief to sign all related documents. Police Chief Van Deepen, do you have a?
Thank you, Mayor. This is the same grant that we put in for probably the last 7 years. We put in to have extra patrol for speed and seatbelt enforcement. It's an 80-20 split, but the 20% match the city puts up is used from our normal patrol guys. We don't have to use any money to put in for it. We get the 80% from the government. We're gonna put in for the same, around 20,000 or a little over. So it's just extra patrol. We get out where the guys are dedicated strictly to speed and seatbelt usage in the city. So we put in for that May 1st of this year. It'll be for 2021 is what the money will be used for.
Do we have any questions for the chief?
I don't have any questions, but I would just note that
I'm sorry, we have a question. Commissioner Clute?
I'm sorry, yeah, this Doug Clute. I just make an observation that just before we started the meeting, I was watching Kelloland News, and the city of Sioux Falls Police were just reporting a saturation patrol for speeding, and I think the spokesman for that department referred to receiving a grant like this. So other communities are doing it, and it looked like they had quite a bit of success doing that this last weekend.
I couldn't hear what he said. Is that a question, or was it just a
He made a
statement?
statement that Sioux Falls is doing the same thing,
Okay,
and that other communities are accessing the same grant and getting good results.
good. I
So
think
you-
that's been our experience too, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Any,
Mayor?
I guess I need a motion to approve this.
This is Smith. I would move to approve.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of authorizing the applying for this South Dakota grant, say aye. Opposed, nay. And we'll call the roll.
Smith,
Aye.
Clute,
Aye.
Harrington,
Aye.
Robish,
Aye.
Mayor Albert.
Aye. Move to item 8.3. Consider the recommendation from the Park and Recreation Board to open community gardens, memorial campground, and putters and scoops under COVID-19 guidelines. Commissioner Clute, that's your department also.
Thank you, Mayor. Can you hear me all right, Mayor?
Yeah, I can.
Okay. Well, they had a meeting last week of the Park and Rec Board, and they made 3 recommendations to the commission that they want to approved. And I guess we could either take them up separately or as in one motion. but I'll just summarize them and then maybe somebody could make a motion either separately or all in total. But the first one is the community gardens. Obviously, we're right at that point where people want to get out there and work those gardens. And Smokey Houston of Dakota Provisions has been a mainstay out there running that. And he's got the signage all made up in several languages to put the social distancing guidelines up there. And he also has assured the Park and Rec Board that he will be supervising that on an almost daily basis. He plans to have his own garden out there, and on his way home from work, he'll try to make sure things are going well and that people are abiding by those guidelines. And so that's the first recommendation, that we allow people to use the community gardens. The second recommendation concerns the campground down at Memorial Park. And they've recommended that we allow that to be opened on May 1st with several stipulations. One, only the dump station will be open for use. We will not open the bathrooms and shower areas. We'll put up some social distancing signage, and we'll reserve open spots between camping rental pads unless requested by family members. So that's the second recommendation that they would like approved. And then finally, the board considered whether to allow the opening of Putters and Scoops. She would like to be open on May 10th. And they recommend that she be allowed to open on that date, but that food items would be available for takeout only, and that she be allowed to operate the mini golf course, but only if social distancing is maintained.
Okay. Do I have a motion, or let's have some discussion first, and we can go if you want to do them singly or all together. Any discussion here? Doug, did they talk anything about the rest of the campgrounds in the city besides Memorial?
No, it was just Memorial. That's all we talked about.
Okay.
That's all they have jurisdiction on, right? Parks and Rec?
I think that's the only one we have real jurisdiction over.
But if there are other, I mean, we have a lot of other campgrounds in town.
Yeah.
Are they closed now, or could they be open already?
Well, my guess is they could be open. I don't think our ordinance specified campgrounds. Our ordinance only specified city facilities and then restaurants, bars, and gyms, and maybe several other things. I don't have.
believe that the other privately or non-city-owned campgrounds have closed voluntarily. I do not believe that they're subject to the emergency ordinance. So opening, if that's the decision, the Memorial Park campground does not automatically open all the private or non-city-owned campgrounds, but they're able to, despite what the city does tonight.
Any other discussions?
I will say one more thing just for the commission's information and the public's on the mini golf out there at Putters and Scoops. As you know, Leadership Huron's main fundraiser was to help renovate that. It's in quite poor condition. And so they raised considerable funds for the purchase of materials to resurface the putters and scoops out there. And those have been ordered. I don't believe they have been received yet, but the Park and Rec Board did authorize, out of some trust monies they had, to hire a consultant to a professional consultant to install that resurfacing when those materials are received. And then the city workforce would provide the labor and would be under that professional's direction. So hopefully that will be done not in the not too distant future, so that when people go out there, there'll be a much nicer facility than we've had, say, last year.
Okay, any further discussion? Commissioner
Yes.
Robish.
Yeah, how about all the other activities out there, Doug? Are they talking about them, or are they all, is it wide open?
They have not yet made decisions on the other items yet, which would be, of course, the beach and the boats, the use of the boats. I would think they probably could be used with appropriate guidelines, but that hasn't quite yet been discussed yet.
Okay,
These are the only ones that needed to be dealt with immediately.
thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, is there a motion, or 1, 2, or 3 motions? Or?
Well, I would,
This is-
Mayor, this is Doug Clute, I'll move to approve all 3 recommendations of the Park and Rec Board.
Okay, is there a second?
This is Smith, second.
Okay, moved and seconded to allow all 3 of the campgrounds, the memorial campgrounds, community gardens, and putters and scoops to open under COVID-19 guidelines. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor will say aye, opposed nay, and we'll call the roll.
Smith,
Aye.
Clute,
Aye.
Harrington,
Aye.
Robish,
Aye,
Mayor Albert.
Aye. Okay, was there any questions or anyone for a public forum? No comments, questions? Okay, well then, having completed all the business on our agenda this evening, we'll be adjourned. Thank you, everybody.